Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you an Oathbreaker Paladin multiclass with the Hexbalde Warlock in Baldur's Gate 3, more commonly known as the Hexadin or Lockadin. This is a powerful combination outside of Honor mode that we get 3 attacks per turn once we hit level 10, which is faster than the fighter, so this is very powerful. I'll be also talking about what to do if you want to play this on Honor mode, because it will be a little bit different since it's better to stack them differently. So, starting off here with the Oathbreaker, it gives us a Spiteful Suffering. Let's use a Channel Oath charge. You can use a mod to be able to start with the Oathbreaker, or you can just break your oath. Pick the crown, it's easy to break. Now, what we're going to be focusing on for our ability scores, we're going all in on our charisma, because we use this for weapon attack rolls, and we use it for our abilities, our spellcasting modifier. So we don't actually have to go all in on our strength. What we can do is actually put points into dexterity. This really depends on if you want to be more strength or dexterity based. We can wear medium armor and get a pretty decent armor class this way. It's entirely your call at this point if you want to use strength or dexterity, because we can always add in 1 level of the Hexblade at any time to use that for our weapon attack rolls. So we're going to roll with something like this. Again, you can swap strength or dexterity. Once we hit level 2 Paladin, this is when we get the Divine Smite, which is a very powerful ability. And there's a few different ways we can build around this, because Divine Smite's just very strong. We also get ourselves a fighting style. I would recommend going defense unless you really want great weapon fighting or dueling. Defense is going to be the best. Dueling can add additional 2 damage to your attacks whenever you have a shield or not a shield. But defense is just really, really good. Now for our prepared spells, I always like to take Command and the Smites. That works pretty well. And you can also take Bless too if you want to have a concentration. Just be mindful, these will break your concentration. Into level 3, this is when we get to get our bonus abilities for the subclass. We get Dreadful Aspect. Let your deepest, darkest emotions burst forth as a menacing pulse to frighten nearby targets for 2 turns. Pretty powerful. And we also get the Control Undead. Use your powers of the Oath to gain control over an undead creature. This is actually pretty crazy because we can control some very powerful undead. The undead will follow you and attack your enemies until long rest. Their target's level must be lower than yours. And that's a really effective use of your Channel Oath. We get 2 really good ones here. You also get Hellish Rebuke, 2 to 20 fire damage on attack, and then Inflict Wounds. We're not going to use that often because we're better off just doing a weapon attack with Smites. And we can just leave, I guess, the Shield of Fate there. Not a bad one to increase armor class by 2. Now, once we get to level 4 here, we get a class features, and we also get to choose a feat. And again, we're going all in on our charisma, so at this point, that's the way to go. And once we hit level 5, this is when we can actually add in the Warlock. So this gives us the extra attack, and we also get the Darkness spell and the Crown of Madness. So there's something that goes very well with this kind of setup. We also get a choice of like Branding Spite and all that different spells that we get at higher levels, so those can be kind of nice too if you wanted to go with something like that. And then once we get to our next level here, this is when we can actually add in the Warlock. We're gonna go 7 levels to get Aura of Hate, because we can actually power that up pretty heavily. So going Warlock and taking the Hex Blade. This gives us Shield, which is nice because we can use our Paladin spell slots to cast it. And then we also get our Bind Hex Weapon, our Hexblade's Curse, and this has a 20% chance of applying our Hexblade's Curse. And we also get Booming Blade. It's very powerful. You want to have it. And Eldritch Blast. You know the deal with Eldritch Blast. So we're going to take, obviously, Shield spell is really nice to have, and Hex is also kind of good because we can stack some different abilities with that. Once we make our way to level 2 here, this is when we get to choose some very fun spells. So it's going to take a couple spells here. I just recommend taking Armor of Agathis and Harms of Hadar. For our Eldritch Invocations, we want to take Devil's Sight at level 2, and once we get to level 5, we can take the other one. Agonizing Blast and Repelling Blast are the big ones. The pushback's more beneficial, I'd say, than the Charisma modifier added to the damage. But Devil's Sight, the big reason for this is we get Darkness from the Oathbreaker Paladin, so we can actually camp out in it, which is really effective. And if we take the Shadow Blade spell, we can then use that to power up our Shadow Blades. Once we get to level 3 here, we get to take another spell, with Shadow Blade being a very popular one, and then also Hold Person being a good one too. And we take a Pact Boon, with Pact of the Blade being able to give us that extra attack. If you're on Honor mode, Pact of the Chain or Pact of the Tome can be nice as well. I'd recommend probably Pact of the Chain, because the Quasi can be a good way to start combat. But this gives us that extra attack outside of Honor mode once we hit level 5. So level 4, this gives us another cantrip. You can take your personal preference. I like to have Bone Chill to stop targets from receiving healing. And we'll take ourselves Hold Person for a spell, and we'll go with an ability score increase to take up our charisma all the way to 20. And now we're using now we got 2 attacks here with both of these classes, and we have to take a level 3 spell. Hunger for Dire can be really nice. I like Counterspell. I don't like it on this build. So Hunger for Dire is probably the best choice here for us. And our Eldritch Invocation, we're going to take the Agonizing Blast to add a Charisma modifier to Eldritch Blast. Or if there's another one there, you can take that as well. Now we could get the Accursed Spectre here at level 6, but I think it's better to add in and go back to the Paladin here, because the Paladin could add some really nice things to this. So we'll just swap out some of the spells here. and take this, which would give us the aura protection, give us a +5 bonus to saving throws for our entire team, which is really, really nice to have. And then once we get to level 7, we get Aura of Hate. Nearby fiends and undead gain an additional 5 piercing damage to damage attack dealt with melee attacks. So this buffs us up. It doesn't actually buff any of our undead unless they have a weapon, like we use control undead and get a target that has a weapon, but we can actually stack this further with some of our other damage options and items, especially some of the items that we have here. And one of the items in particular is the Diadem of Arcane Synergy. So this will give you a Arcane Synergy whenever you inflict a condition, which, funny enough, the Aura of Hate also counts as a condition. So we can apply that to ourselves, and then it gives us the Arcane Synergy in combat, which gives us additional damage. So under Arcane Synergy, it is basically the same thing of Aura of Hate. It adds our Charisma modifier to our attack roll, so that doubles it up. And then we can also go with our Bind Hex weapon. However, there's another nice thing that we can do here. I guess I'll still keep covering our gear. So Cloak of Protection for the better armor class, although Deathstalker Mantle works well here. Armor of Persistence, the best in slot, but however, you can go with the Helldusk armor, or even the Armor of Agility still gives us a very solid armor class at the dexterity we have, but Armor of Persistence will be better. Helldusk will give us additional fire damage and spell save DC, which is really nice. Both of these benefit us quite a bit. Early game, you can use Gloves Dexterity and wear dexterity-based armor, or really any of the other gloves that you find along the way. Even something like Luminous Gloves work well, because we're going to be doing Divine Smite, doing Radiating Orbs on targets. We'll give it -2 attack rolls. Invasive Shoes for the better armor class. Game with greater health, tankiness, Killer Sweetheart, and Ring of Protection, although you can always swap out rings to the rest of the team as you see fit. I also like the Hellrider Longbow for the +3 initiative. You can also, again, swap bows out. It's more so just for the stats that you get from it. And I like the Knife of the Underbound King. This is a pretty easy one to get. Increase your critical hit chance, and you get the Shadow Blade ability. You get advantage on attack rolls against lightly or heavy obscure targets while using this blade. Now, what's cool about that is we can actually use our Shadow Blade spell here. And we have level 3 Warlock spell slots, so you can actually use if you got a free cast ability, you can actually use that instead. And another little pro tip is you can actually take a Staff of Spell Power and then use its free cast to give yourself a Shadow Blade upcast to level 3. So whenever we go ahead with that, free cast of this Shadow Blade, and then now it's an upcast version which does 3d8 of psychic damage, which is very powerful. Then we can use our Bind Hex weapon on it, and that's going to buff it up even further. And then what we want to be doing is going in and using our Divine Smites. As you can see there, does quite a bit of damage, and the psychic damage is going to be doubled, so that becomes crazy. The Aura of Hate will also change into psychic damage, which is pretty cool, so that further enhances the amount of damage that we'll be dealing with this weapon. And again, always have your aura protection up as well, so you can have 2 of those auras both active at the same time, so that's pretty nice. And they're also permanent, so they last past long rest, now after patch 8's update. So to start things off in combat, we got our very powerful Dreadful aspect here. Since there's no undead, it's probably best for us to utilize this to our advantage, so we can actually sneak our way around here without proccing any opportunity attacks if possible, and try to hit as many targets as possible with this. So we may as well just run up into there, because then we can hit all these. Only a 32% chance, but it's still decent, and we've frightened a bunch of them, which is perfect. So our next step will be to use Booming Blade for our first action. This will likely one-shot because it hits really hard. Yeah, 64 damage on the psychic. And then we got Divine Smite to follow up with, so we can go ahead here. We can burn our spell slots if we want to. That does quite a bit of damage. And then we got a follow-up Divine Smite. So what's nice about this is we can continually just keep mowing people down with our attacks, because yeah, you can see there it hits for like 90. It's pretty crazy. And then as a bonus action, we can always just apply our Hexblade's Curse to a target, and that's pretty good too, because then we get additional bonuses on it. And the Arcane Synergy actually stacked up. We have 2 turns of it because we applied a condition to that target, but that Aura of Hate gives us even further damage. So now we have a bunch of frightened targets around us. We're just going to go around starting with Booming Blade and then Divine Smiting each of them. The reason being is we get per action the ability to use Booming Blade. So we can do Booming Blade, 2 Divine Smites, Booming Blade, 2 Divine Smites. If someone has haste on us, as you can see, it's worthwhile having haste on this character because it just hits like a truck. So yeah, it's going around one-shotting pretty much everyone. That's the beauty about Shadow Blade, is it does hit extremely hard. And then you get the follow-up with your your nice Booming Blade there too. Yeah, this hits very hard, and it's hard not to have fun with this because it just goes around dealing a ton of damage. We can also set up Darkness too, because this will power up our Shadow Blade, but it's not necessary. It doesn't really mess with the AI, but enemies can't do melee attacks or range attacks from into Darkness. So for our concentrations, Hold Person is a really effective one to have, because this can give us free critical hits on the enemy. But again, Darkness is nice too, because this will power up our Shadow Blade. You don't have to use Darkness, but everyone inside is going to be blinded. And since we have Devil Sight, we're not blinded. And then we can go around using our Booming Blade here and Divine Smite, and it powers up and gives us advantage on our attack rolls because everyone is obscured here. And it blasts really hard. So you can see there, we one-shot everybody that we attacked. It is very powerful. The Oathbreaker Hexblade in Baldur's Gate 3. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below if you haven't already, and I'll see you all in the next video.